Welcome to Nonprofit Network, powered by Stokes Auction Group. We are a podcast focused on benefit auctions and fundraising events for the nonprofit community. We are a group of fundraising professionals that specialize in raising funds to improve communities of all sizes. This is episode number 24. Welcome
24,
to the
Shelby.
Stokes Auction Group / Nonprofit Network podcast. My name is Shelby Stokes.
Kelly Schenfeld.
And Mr. Paulie Schenfeld here. Thanks for joining us today, everybody.
That's right. We appreciate you being here. Now, if you are watching the video version, you see that we have a background behind us.
Go Hawks.
Go
Go
Hawks.
Hawks.
So this
Yes.
is the first day of NFL, is that right?
Not the first day of
No.
the NFL. That was last Thursday.
That was last Thursday, but Shelby doesn't follow NFL as closely as he will be in the future because he's going to a Seahawks game probably this year.
This is true.
Yeah.
Well, and it turns out the NFL is finally going to set up a streaming package, so I'm totally down for that. I know that there's
seriously?
been talk
Really?
of them doing a streaming platform. Yeah.
Oh, that's very
Oh,
cool.
cool.
I'm very excited because I don't want to pay for all the cable. I just want to pay for a little bit of football.
Little
That's
bit of
all I want to pay
football.
for.
Is that through Amazon?
I don't know who it's going to be through. I know that I heard a talk about it on another podcast, and they said, hey, we're going to set up a streaming service. So it's in the works.
I would like to also preemptively tell all of you out there, if you're watching this, that if you hear a bang and a cry or any noise coming from the background, our grandchildren are here today.
Well,
So
your
just-
grandchildren.
Yeah, my grandchildren. Yes, they actually belong to all of us, but
This is true.
you just may hear that. So if you hear screaming, don't worry about it. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. We have an in-studio audience. It's a
Yes.
Bring Your Grandkids to Podcast day to day.
Yes.
A national Bring Your Kids to Podcast.
Yes, it
Trust
is.
us, they're not being abused. They're just back there farting around, probably.
Yeah, eating Cheetos.
Yeah, Cheetos are the best. So
Cheetos.
a couple of things. What our focus today is going to be is kind of phase 2 on planning your event. Last episode we went through phase 1 is what I'm calling it. It was everything like 10 to 12 months out in a normal year. It's an unnormal time right now following the pandemic. But before we hop into best practices in regards to planning, we've been having a conversation with one organization north of Seattle. And essentially what they're having issues with is getting people to commit to their event, right? And their mission has always been very focused on helping the community. And they're having trouble getting people to commit to the event because a lot of their branding and messaging is based on stuff of past.
Commit their community, their giving community.
Their guests coming to an in-person
Okay.
event.
Okay.
They're slow to commit to
Alright.
the event. So what we've been strategizing with them on is make the messaging tie to your mission in whatever is top of mind. So essentially what we're talking with them about is changing their messaging from help the community, support the church, to look, we have individuals in this neck of the woods who can no longer afford housing because of the housing spike in the last 24 months, and they're making their messaging around that moving forward, and what they're seeing is an uptick in participation because of that. So what I want to really put in everyone's mind is when you think about the message and what you're trying to accomplish as a entire unit or group, take it to like the real world issues that are playing out today, and I imagine you're going to have more traction.
Oh, my goodness. That is
Give us an example, though.
Great idea.
Yeah, like let's say you have a Humane Society group. What would their messaging change? How would you lead them to change their messaging to get their community to want to go ahead and come live?
I think like Humane Society specifically coming out of COVID, there were a lot of individuals that went and got dogs, and then those dogs got
Yes.
displaced 6-9 months
thinking
later.
the same thing.
Right?
Yeah.
So top of mind example that they can message around, right? I took your answer to that,
That
Paul.
was totally cool. I was going to go
No,
to the
yeah.
same place.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah. So I think the messaging is really something to focus in and hone on. And that's going to also play into what we're going to be covering today. So today, phase 2 of planning your event.
Phase 2,
Phase 2.
Phase
starting at what, 6 months out?
Yeah, let's do that. 6 months out. So who wants to go first?
I don't have paper in front of me, so I'm going to just
Do you-
chalk
here.
off of these people here. It's fine. I'm excited to
Okay,
be
well-
with you.
I think this one is good, right here. Think about that one, and we'll finish up with you on that one.
Okay.
Is that cool? Send procurement reminder letters, emails, continue the incentive program. The incentive program is what we touched on last week about designating certain individuals to go find certain types of items. like you want 3 travel items. So Sally and Billy, you guys are going to go get our travel items. So you're following up on that, you're consistently following up on that, and encouraging that, hey, remember, we have this incentive program. Whoever gets their items in first is going to get, a gift certificate to the Metropolitan Grill, or something really fancy like
Yeah.
that.
Kelly's a little pent up because I think this was her idea last week, right?
I'm fine.
Yeah,
I
it was
just
like,
ride
that
the
was my
wave.
idea.
I just get out my surfboard, ladies and gentlemen, and ride the wave of these boys.
So we didn't cite you in the bibliography, is
No,
what I'm
it's
telling
totally fine. I'm fine.
Kelly's
Nobody
idea,
listens
yeah.
to me anymore.
It's also a good time to, get your invitations designed and start working on your catalog design as well. And it's going to be a good opportunity for you to get logos from your supporters. That needs to be part of your catalog as well. So, Shelby, go ahead. You take the next bullets.
Kelly, what do you think about mailers, or communications in regard to saves the dates, stuff of that nature?
I'm a huge save the dater. You know that about
Are you?
me, though.
Do you like it in the mail, or is it a Facebook?
Refrigerator magnet.
Refrigerator magnets. Do not undersell a refrigerator magnet. Do you know that my husband and I, which by the way, I just love him. My husband and I are on so many people's refrigerators from when we got married a million years ago. It
Really?
feels like, yes. So Roy Crosswhite, I'll just go ahead and say hi, Roy. We're still on his refrigerator. What?
Must have been
And
a good picture.
He's moved twice. So, yeah, refrigerator magnets. Put it on that refrigerator. Make it cute. Make it fun. Save the date. And then put something, like eye-catching on there. It's worth the investment, people.
Yeah,
I'm just telling
agreed.
you.
Especially if you can live on someone's refrigerator for years.
Years.
That's where you want to be, is on people's refrigerators.
Yeah, the right around the refrigerator is kind of the hub of the house. You're
right.
looking at it every day.
You're going there
You're
at
going to be
least 10
constantly
times
reminded,
a day.
hey, October 23rd, that's the night of the show. So we're,
Yeah, and you can even
right?
put something on there that says, don't forget to ask your friends to come and donate, or, don't forget to get your money ready for the night, or, some tagline that you could use. So
And this goes into, I love the refrigerator magnets, and I think
No,
it
you
works
don't.
into it. No, I do. I think it works into a marketing plan, right? So whatever your marketing plan to get people there is, if it's a magnet, that goes out 3 weeks before or 2 months before. When are you going to be emailing them? When are you going to be scheduling those Facebook contacts? When are you going to be texting those individuals to make sure they're there? All of that stuff should be in one pipeline where where you have it mapped out on what communication is going to happen when.
what about
And
putting
then
it on
hitting those
toilet
deadlines.
paper? People see that every day. If you were to put your advertisement on rolls of toilet paper and send those out to your community, every time they go tinkle, boom, they look and they go, wow, hey, the event is going to be coming in.
Oh, that's right. There's an event.
There's an event.
Every time I flush, I think of you.
It may work.
This flush brought to you by ABC Church.
I love it. You're laughing. I'm
Got the
serious.
picture in my mind.
That's right.
As you're looking, it's like, oh yeah, that's right. That's coming up.
That's right. So another piece to consider here is scheduling your master of ceremonies and/or announcer for your event. And you can even roll this into all your vendors, right? You're talking catering, MC, whatever vendor or provider you need to get into a place, do it earlier than later. We've touched on this in the past, but the MC is really going to be the epicenter of your event and help set the tone of what you're trying to accomplish.
And I would actually say that 6 months is a little late.
Yeah.
And these guys would agree with that. 6 months is too late to be doing that. That was in last week's podcast, and we talked about a year out. Because everybody that is really good at this is going to be scheduled a year out. So
That's a good point.
you want to really focus on that prior to the 6 months. But Shelby's right. If you haven't got it, man, it's go time. You gotta get that done now.
Yeah, agreed. Let's move on to the next one. And this is actually something that we saw pop up in the spring of 2022 pretty consistently. Having a fund-a-need cause, designated speaker, and really mission within that thrust of movement in the community. You want to speak to that?
Yeah, I will. I think that your fund-a-need is the one part of the night that is the most important part of the night. So the whole idea of your live auction is to prepare for your fund-a-need. If you don't have a specific mission for your fund-a-need, chances are that your fund-a-need may fall flat, or you raise the paddle, or your fund-a-cure, or whatever you're funding. So we say fund a need because you're funding a certain need. If you don't have a need, it's a lot harder to have a raise the paddle or a fund a need. If you have a speaker that talks like this and is a drone and they say, yeah, we need money for this and so we'd really like you to give. No,
Not going to get very far.
you're not going to get very far.
Following the delivery.
So, not to, we're talking mechanics here, and we're talking about the end result is getting as much money as we can. You need to have something that pulls at the heartstrings of your community. So you need to look at what your community knows the need is already, but you just really need to put that under a microscope on this fund and need. And a video, a great video. It could be, let's say your organization is school. What is the one thing that schools are constantly, they playground equipment, and make a big thing out of the playground equipment if you need playground equipment. Let's say your staffing shortage, you're in a private industry or whatever. Really put together a video and stuff like, my suggestion is stuff like 60 kids in one room with a teacher. Do a video, make a movie/video about it, like this is what our classroom looks like. We need to take that in half and get 30 students as opposed to 60 or whatever. But always have a powerful, impactful fund a need. I think that gets missed sometimes.
It does. We've all been in this situation before where our account managers or even us auctioneers and other support will ask an organization, what are you funding this year? Well, we couldn't really come up with anything, so we're just gonna ask them to support to a general fund. We've all been there.
Doesn't work.
It happened quite a bit in the spring.
Yeah, it did.
It did. And what ended up happening is people came back in person and they're like, well, these individuals have given before, so we're just going to ask for general funds because we don't know what's next. And people did give. Like, keep in mind, when you ask your community to give money towards your goal, they're going to. They trust you, right? I am telling you right now that if you have a specific need in mind that you can take the attention of that room and focus on a specific need, you are going to return a lot more money in regard to what you are trying to do. Asking generally works, of course it does, but having a specific mission or a specific goal is going to greatly increase your revenue.
I personally will give more to a fund a need that has a mission, that has a need, than I will just a general pot of money. Because under that general pot of money, you can do whatever you need to do with it. So and my husband and I give quite a bit on the fund of needs. That's one thing that we've just always done. So, if there's a general need, you bet we're going to give.
And I'd like to point this out also for events that have been established over years and even decades. It's also very, very important to actually do what you tell your attendees that you're going to do. One example we had at an event in Kirkland where we needed new air conditioning unit in the gymnasium. And this is the gymnasium where we did the auction. And this particular year was warm and it was perfect messaging because we were all in the same room. And when we went back the following year, it was there. And that people remember that. It's like, hey, we funded the new AC unit in here last year and look, there it is. That's really important because people are going to remember. If they ask for money for a particular thing, they want to see it get done.
Yeah. And you can launch your fund a need, and then we'll kind of stop talking about it because it's basic, right? It's really have a powerful message for your fund a need. And prior to delivering that message, possibly show what you did with last year's funds. So put a little clip together or do it sometime during the night.
There you go.
Sometime during the night, put together a video or have information that shows what you did with last year's dollars and show them that you are really cherishing their dollars. It's important. They'll give you more.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Are
Results.
super effective.
My goodness, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to move on to our next category, which is designated as 3 months out, but as mentioned, it could just fall into your timeline. Finalizing guest list. About 90 days out would be your target to finalize that guest list. Know who's going to be at what table. You're still going to have the people that haven't committed, right? I know Kelly has a table of 8. She'll come through. You're going to inevitably run into those situations, but getting those actual guest lists established 3 months out would be preferred. It's going to be loose, of course, but try to get as close as you can to perfect coming into 3 months.
Table captains.
It's where, yeah, I love
Table
the table
captains,
captains.
right?
Actually, put that idea, I talked to Mark about it, and I saw your guys' reaction when I talked about that, doing a challenge with table captains. That could be more challenging then. Because what do you do there? If table captains is great, but you remember me talking about that competition with the table captains?
Right.
That might be a bit messy. But I still like it.
I like it. I mean,
So do I.
let
Okay.
it be messy, right? Let it
Okay.
be messy. And the next line item here is a procurement push. And back to your previous point, like whatever you need to do to push that envelope,
Do
like
it.
say you're getting within 90 days of your event and you have holes in terms of a live auction or some way to raise funds, you've got to figure out how to fill those holes.
Yeah.
We would call that procurement from the auction side of things, but it can also be as simple as like a raffle opportunity. Okay, we're going to raffle something off. You're going to need that grand prize. If it's a
Yeah.
cruise, you better find it. If it's a vacation, you better find it. So when you're in that 3-month window, you really have to hone and make those last.
No,
procurement
that's totally
pushes.
true. That's absolutely true. And some people work really great under pressure. I know I do. That's all I have
That's
lately.
human nature. Procrastination is not a bad word. I refuse to accept it as a bad word.
3 months out is also a really good time to ensure you have proper AV equipment.
Good call.
Because our ability as auctioneers and bid spotters and support staff, our ability to communicate is the number one tool that we have. You have a room full of 300, 400 people, I'd be up to 1,000, but on average, 300 to 500. We need to be able to communicate with that person in the front row just as well as communicate with with the people in the back row. And we have various literature that we can send you, or we can have a phone call about that, but proper sound equipment is vital, is also visually. You want to be able to send your message visually. Everybody's visual nowadays.
Yeah.
Great big 10-foot, 12-foot screens or TVs around the room so that everybody has the ability to see what's being presented, especially when we're talking about your fund need video. So we have.
And don't take that comment for granted, because we've been in rooms where they have a 55-inch television. Okay, everybody watch the screen.
Yeah.
No one can see what you're talking about. Like, it really does throw a wet
Oh,
blanket
my
on the
gosh.
energy in the room. So,
Yeah, it absolutely does.
Consider that, please.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is on there or not, but I think that's also a great time that we're at 6 months. Is that where we're at? We're at 3 months?
Yep, 90 days.
This is a great time too to really get your committees honed. Polish those committees all the way, because you've already
Yeah.
got them in place, but now you really want to polish them, and you want to share with them that feeling of okay, it's go time now. You know what I mean? We've talked about it, we've had meetings about it. This is what you're supposed to do, but we're in the time now where we're 90 days out. It's hone those committees, make sure everybody's doing what they say they were going to do, and make sure that we're moving.
Exactly
little noise
right.
in the background.
There's a
I'm
little
getting
bit of
ready to
noise.
get up. It's fine.
It's all right. Our fans are getting a little antsy, but it's all good. We're going to cover one more category, and this would be the 2-month or 60-day proposed things to be considering or finalizing. First one here is mailing invitations. We covered that in the marketing plan. You need to be hitting your dates in regard to 2 months, 60 days out. Develop a registration check-in, check-out procedure. Let's dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. Who wants to take that?
The check-in and check-out procedures?
Yeah. Like, where do you start? How do you go about getting that orchestrated?
You hire us to help you with that,
Well,
because it's a lot. And I know, and staffing is a big thing, but the smoother that you can make your check out, the better off you are.
Amen.
So if check-in is a little bit backed up and you have things going on, so let's say you have guests of 400 people, right? And check-in is a little heavy. It feels a little slow. This is where I think it's a good idea to be having servers carrying around some sort of appetizer, go in through the line, champagne. If you're a dry one, you could put sparkling apple cider
Yep.
in there or whatever, so that you can entertain those people while they're at check-in. Check-in to me is important that you, number one, get their credit card when they get there. You want to make sure that when they're checking out, they can just check out and go home. They don't have to get in another line and do that.
Yeah.
So
Your goal is to make it as seamless as possible.
seamless.
So when people walk in the door, you want to be able to take their information in regards to payment and who they are and get them in and spending money as soon as they can. And then on the back end, making it a seamless process because they'll remember those last 20 minutes more than they'll remember anything. So if they're sitting around socializing, enjoying a glass of wine at the end of the night, that's what's going to stick with them. But if they're waiting in line, kind of waiting to check out, it's going to stick with them as well. So you really have to make sure that checkout process is seamless. How do you do that? You find somebody in the community that has done it before. You partner with somebody who has experience here. Like, there are multiple ways to attack the solution, but really think about the steps necessary to make that a seamless process for your donor.
And this is something worth hiring, whether you hire, whoever you hire, it is. It's, or having a super strong volunteer base for it. Because I'm a fan of A through G checks in here, last names. H through, just break it up.
And like, kind of what we're dancing around here is, as we go back to these in-person events, we have provided check-in, check-out services as a company for many, many years. What we're finding coming out of the pandemic, going back to in-person events, is that staffing bandwidth that our organization used to have is not as strong as it used to be because we've been out of practice for 24, 36 months.
As well as people have had to go get other.
And we're not alone. We are one of many events-based service companies that are having issues staffing some of these events. So we'd love to talk with you about potentially being on your team, but let's call it what it is, whether it be an AV provider, an auctioneer, a check-in, check-out service. It's harder to find those professionals in the space right now because they have moved on to different career paths, or they're just no longer applicable right now.
This ties directly into finalizing your guest list, right? If you know who's coming to your event, you can have their information pre-prepared. As Kelly mentioned, you're going to go, A through H, right? And you're going to go I through P, right? You're going to have it separated. There's a formula out there, how many volunteers you should have for registration, check-in, and check-out per 100, right? And we have that information for you. But remember this, when they walk in and they're registering for your event or they're waiting in line, that's their first impression of your event.
Yep.
I've done many events, and I'm sure you two have also, where you walk in and there's 3 lines that are 30 people deep. And we immediately think, ruh-roh, right?
Yeah.
So just remember that. That's their very first experience with your event is walking in to be registered. And if you know who's coming to the event, all you need is, hey, who are you? Here's your card. Swipe your card. Boom, done. Go bid.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry. I'm like, no, get that toothpick out of your mouth.
Don't run with the scissors.
So just a few.
Sorry. Woo! And remember, 2 months out, we do not walk with toothpicks in our mouth.
That's right. That is
Very important.
I actually have that highlighted twice on this form right here.
Thank you.
Let's hit a few more and kind of call it a day. Finalizing equipment for check-in, check-out. Those are your computers, your tablets, whatever that may be. Whatever you're physically going to need in regard to hardware, start thinking about and where that stuff is coming from. Perform an on-site walkthrough for the venue with the venue's catering manager. You're going to be determining layouts if you have not yet done so, food timing, flow, and identifying specific needs. So at 60 days, you're starting to finalize what that show is going to look like.
And I think it's okay to ask who your table captain that night is, because they are going to make your night easy, or they're going to make your night hard. There's I love not table captains, but your banquet captain.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The venue
For
banquet
sure.
captain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's what you do. And then if you are smart, you would have all the little people sit down back there.
And the last one on this list that we're going to hit is finalize that list of volunteers, right? We just did a short on this. It's on our YouTube. It's on our TikTok. But essentially what you need to start doing is really thinking about those volunteers and how you're going to staff that event, right? At 60 days, hopefully you're starting to finalize who's doing what and who's in charge of those volunteers.
Just a little reminder, we talked about this last week, you guys. Consider getting some of these costs underwritten. And 3 months out, 2 months out, your AV, your food service, your hotel, venue. This is be a good time to solidify some of those donations that can underwrite those extra costs, as well as whatever registration and checkout might be as well.
And I think this is also a good time, 2 months out, because as it gets closer, you won't have time to think about this. But one thing that I'm always thrilled when I see a volunteer room that actually has a nice meal in there for them. So that's an added thing that you need to do for your volunteers. These are people that are giving you their time, and they don't have a spot in the gala room necessarily. So they need to be fed.
Yeah.
So if you get that handled early, then you don't have to worry about it. But it is something that can be forgotten. And the night of, those people that are working hard for you they're feeling taken advantage of. And I'm just going to say it is what it is. And when people feel taken advantage of, no bueno. No bueno. So I don't care if it's pizza and salad or sub sandwiches and salad or whatever, but make sure you get that kind of handled at that same time.
Yeah, exactly. And I know there's a lot to consider here, right? We've just went 6 months, 3 months, and 2 months. And there's a lot of different action items to really consider in this process. What we're going to do is we're going to cover maybe 1 or 2 more of these episodes just talking about ways to prepare for your fundraising event. Again, don't stress out. I know there's a lot of stuff here, but take the stuff that's priority and really try to set yourself up for success. The way that we have come to these lists of best practices is years and years of experience, right? We've gone in and we've had
30
issues.
to be exact.
30. That's a 30.
30.
So I know it's a lot, but you guys can do this. You can go and do good in the world, and we appreciate you being a part of our podcast here. As mentioned, we're doing an audio version if you're using a podcatcher. We have a video version on YouTube. We're also going to start ramping up YouTube Shorts, TikTok type content. So if that is more your preferred method of consuming some of this content, know that it's there if you'd like it. But we appreciate the community we've built, and we're going to continue to see it thrive with these fall months. And I'm excited.
Yeah, we are too. And you know what? Don't call us if you have questions. You know what? The one thing that we have learned during the pandemic is that, even if we're not your auction team night of, we still care. Yep. So we'd love to work with you, but call us if you have questions, or if you're up against a wall and you feel like, where do I go next? We'll be able to answer it for you.
Definitely. And I don't know when this is going out, but mark your calendars for August 24th. We're going to be doing a live Q&A type episode just like this. We may cover material.
Live Q&A.
We may just take messages from the group, but know that live ability for you to interact with us is going to be available on August the 24th of 2022, 11 a.m.
25th.
Is it the 25th?
Yeah. Thursday the 25th.
Thursday the 25th.
Right?
I think I may have put the wrong date somewhere. Thursday the 25th is the date, so we'll see you there.
Yeah, and we won't have in-studio audience there, so you'll have our full attention. So I apologize, and just remember, it is very dangerous to walk with toothpicks in your mouth. That's a fact.
Are you going to have a toothpick at the Hawks game tonight?
No.
That's a tough lesson learned right there.
Tough lesson learned. Thank you for joining us this week. Our intro music's Brighter Days Ahead by Mixard. We appreciate you being with us each and every week. We're going to say goodbye and thank you very much.
Hey, everybody, go out, be creative, and be prepared.
Be courageous. Be courageous.
And go do good. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Awesome.
See you next week.
See you later.